The girl had a sexy, attractive figure, but her face was hideously ugly. Her name was Kirara. Every time before she went out, she would carefully put on makeup, but no matter how thick the makeup was, it couldn't hide her ugly face. Her classmates would constantly mock her behind her back. Even the delivery man couldn't help but comment on her ugliness when he saw her. She also had a boy she liked, named Akira. He was very popular with the girls at school. Every time Kirara tried to get close to Akira, she would immediately be knocked to the ground by other girls. Kirara had to endure this kind of humiliation every day. Gradually, it twisted her inner self, and sometimes she even thought about suicide, but couldn't bring herself to do it. Kirara would vent all her resentment on her mother. She would question her mother why she had given birth to her so ugly, until one day, she met someone who would change her life. An old woman, who looked like a witch, told her that with a simple plastic surgery, she could have any face she wanted. But Kirara didn't believe what the woman said. But the next moment, the witch's skin started peeling away slowly. Then, the formerly ugly witch transformed into an extraordinary beauty. She explained that it was the surgery that had made her so beautiful. She told Kirara that the surgery had no side effects and didn't require a lot of money. The only requirement was to eat the plate of food she had prepared. Kirara hesitated when she saw the disgusting food on the plate, but the moment she thought she could become beautiful right away, she immediately grabbed the food and started eating it. This scene happened to be witnessed by Rat Man, who was always idle. Then, while Kirara was in a deep sleep, the witch began the surgery on her face. Only one night passed, and Kirara finally turned into a great beauty. The boys immediately began to approach her, wanting to flirt with her. Girls all wanted to be her friends, but everyone was curious. They had never seen such a beautiful girl before. When they learned that this beautiful girl was the once ugly Kirara, everyone was stunned. In the days that followed, Kirara became more and more confident and beautiful. Every time she saw herself in the mirror, she would admire her own beauty. Talent scouts would hand her business cards, inviting her to develop a career in showbiz. But the boy she had secretly admired, Akira, did not agree with her decision to undergo plastic surgery. He told Kirara that beauty and ugliness were not important. What truly mattered was the heart and the inner self. These words made Kirara feel disgusted. When she was ugly, no one understood her pain. Meanwhile, their conversation was overheard by Sakura, another girl who secretly liked Akira. She was extremely jealous of Kirara's beauty and wanted to become more beautiful too. At that moment, Rat Man's appearance gave her hope. Rat Man promised her that if she gave him enough money, he could make her even more beautiful than Kirara. With Rat Man's help, Sakura underwent plastic surgery as well. That night, as usual, Kirara admired her beauty in the mirror, but suddenly, her face started to hurt intensely. She hurriedly ran out to find the witch. In her panic, she collided with her classmate, Kanako. When Kirara looked up, Kanako screamed in terror. At this moment, Kirara's face no longer had eyes, a nose, or a mouth. With Kanako's help, they found the yokai hunter Kitaro. Together, they went to confront the witch. It turned out that the witch was a yokai known as Naparebo. According to legend, Naparebo is a yokai formed from women who, in their pursuit of beauty, ultimately died after ingesting mercury. Naparebo greatly admired humans who shared the same obsession with beauty, and she would perform surgeries on any girl who desired to become beautiful, without asking for anything in return. The so-called plastic surgery involved completely peeling off the person's face, and replacing it with the face of a dead person. To restore one's original appearance was simple. All one had to do was place their original face skin back onto their face. After hearing the witch's explanation, Sakura hesitated but eventually picked up her old face and pressed it against her face. After all, her original face was still beautiful, but Kirara didn't want to return to her previous ugly appearance. She threw the face on the ground and ran away. During her escape, Akira found her. Akira explained that he truly didn't care if Kirara's face was beautiful or ugly. What mattered to him was Kirara's heart, because in the letter she wrote to him, it was filled with blessings and encouraging words. Upon hearing these words, Kirara looked up. When she saw her terrifying face, Akira was so shocked that he collapsed to the ground. Luckily, Kitaro and the others arrived just in time to explain everything. Half a year passed in the blink of an eye. Akira was still surrounded by many girls, and Kirara, since that night, had never appeared again. It wasn't until Akira saw a beautiful girl on the big screen that he realized that, on that fateful night half a year ago, Kirara had ultimately chosen to go to the Naparebo for the face-changing procedure. Now, with her beautiful face, she had become a rising star. In a human-occupied apartment, there were 3 yokai hiding inside. The leader was a yokai named Rokurokubi, who had the ability to stretch her neck indefinitely. The second yokai was named Akaname, a green creature whose favorite food was licking the dirt in bathtubs. The third was a powerful tang-suit yokai. These 3 yokai didn't eat humans or harm them, they just enjoyed scaring humans. Every night at exactly midnight, they would appear and play various pranks to scare the apartment tenants. As a result, the atmosphere in the apartment became tense, and business gradually declined. The landlord couple was very distressed. They asked the yokai to leave, but Rokurokubi told them that the place had once been a cemetery with a lot of energy, making it the perfect place for yokai to live. They didn't want to leave. Angry at such arrogance, the man decided to hire an exorcist. However, the exorcist turned out to be a complete fraud. He didn't have any real ability to drive out yokai. In fact, the yokai even teased him around, but he didn't notice. Out of frustration, the man went to the police to file a report, but the police didn't believe in the existence of yokai at all. So, he turned to Kitaro, a legendary yokai hunter. Through a friend's recommendation, Kitaro quickly found the 3 yokai. Facing their combined attacks, Kitaro took on all 3 and easily subdued them. The landlord couple was very happy and decided to celebrate. In truth, the 3 yokai were quite pitiful. They had once been homeless and had wandered around. Now they have finally found a good place, and they really don't want to leave. However, yokai couldn't get too close to humans. They had to maintain distance. Just as Kitaro was about to take the yokai away, the landlord couple stopped him. This kind-hearted couple felt very sympathetic towards these 3 yokai. In the end, they agreed to let the 3 yokai stay, but they couldn't scare humans or be seen by humans. Thus, they coexisted peacefully in the apartment. In the days that followed, more and more tenants moved into the apartment, and the atmosphere grew more harmonious. It seemed like these beautiful days would continue forever, but one day, a real estate developer came to them. He planned to demolish the apartment to build a parking lot. The developer threatened that if they didn't agree, he would target their daughter. Afterward, the developer came by every few days to cause trouble. Seeing their frightened daughter, the couple considered giving up the apartment, but it was at this moment that the 3 yokai stepped in and successfully scared the developer away. After this event, the couple's attitude toward the yokai grew more favorable. They even began to treat them like family. Time flies in the blink of an eye, and decades passed in an instant. The apartment building, which had once been a rental property, passed into the hands of Natsumi, the granddaughter of the couple who had owned it. Natsumi was very innocent, and under the influence of her boyfriend, Hiroto, she decided to sell the apartment and use the proceeds to marry Hiroto. However, what Natsumi did not expect was that, after Hiroto obtained the property title and seal, his true evil face was revealed. This was all part of Hiroto's scheme. It turned out that the developer who had originally been involved in the property was Hiroto's grandfather. Hiroto had intentionally gotten close to Natsumi to fulfill his grandfather's wishes. In his eyes, Natsumi, being such a naive and beautiful girl, was easy to deceive. Just as Hiroto thought his plan had succeeded and was preparing to leave, the 3 yokai, who had disappeared for many years, suddenly appeared again. They took their own unique actions to help Natsumi take revenge. After scaring Hiroto away, Natsumi finally realized the truth. At that moment, she hated Hiroto for his betrayal, but she hated her own foolishness even more. If it hadn't been for the timely appearance of the 3 yokai, perhaps her grandfather's lifelong efforts would have been destroyed by her hands. Seeing how heartbroken Natsumi was, Akaname licked her with its tongue. It was with this gesture that Natsumi suddenly recalled many forgotten memories. It turned out that when Natsumi was little, she had known these 3 yokai. When her parents died in an accident, the 3 yokai had kept her company, playing with her every day to cheer her up. However, this led to a new problem. Natsumi no longer enjoyed playing with other human children, which made everyone worried again. Her grandfather felt that if Natsumi could not live well in the human world, the consequences would be even more severe. After all, he couldn't take care of her forever. Thus, for Natsumi's future, the 3 yokai decided to hide away. Though this was cruel to Natsumi, over time, she would eventually forget about them. Even though they couldn't meet with Natsumi, the 3 yokai continued to protect her in their own way, silently watching her grow up. This is a type of flower that feeds on the dead. Wherever it grows, there will undoubtedly be corpses everywhere. It usually does not grow near the living, but for some unknown reason, The area around a house in this village is covered with this yokai flower. The owner of this house is a strange old lady named Suzuko. She is unpredictable in her moods and never interacts with others. Although she is over 90 years old, she has never been married. It is said that when Suzuko was young, she once dated a man from a big city. They had even reached the point of discussing marriage. But one day, the man suddenly disappeared. Before he disappeared, the man left behind only one sentence: "I will definitely come back." Suzuko believed him and waited quietly, but the man never returned. Since then, Suzuko seemed to have changed completely. She never loved anyone again and no longer needed anyone to love her. She lived alone like this, until one day, the yokai flower suddenly appeared around her house. The field of yokai flowers immediately attracted Kitaro and his group. It is said that the yokai flower usually carries a strong evil aura, but strangely, Kitaro did not sense this aura. Kitaro speculated that this yokai flower must have come from a faraway place. To get to the bottom of the matter, they decided to search for the source of the yokai flower. So, after searching across half the globe, Kitaro and his group finally set their sights on a small island across the Atlantic. On this island, which should have been deserted, a group of lumberjacks was working. When Kitaro asked one of the lumberjacks if he had seen the yokai flower on the island, the lumberjack reacted with great fear. He said that ever since he had seen the yokai flower, every night, he would hear terrifying sounds. He hoped that Kitaro could help him. As night fell, strange things indeed happened. After a gust of wind, the entire island suddenly echoed with sounds of planes, cannons, and gunfire. It seemed as if a fierce battle was taking place on the island, but Kitaro did not find any traces of a war. Not a single scent of gunpowder was in the air. However, one thing Kitaro was certain of was that these were the sounds of war. At this moment, Kanako, who was searching for clues alone on the other side, also heard these strange sounds. When she turned around, she was horrified to discover a trail of footprints on the ground, as if an invisible creature was following her. Kanako was very scared, but soon she realized that the unknown creature had no ill intentions. It only wanted to lead her to a place. Following the footprints, Kanako came to a vast sea of red flowers. In the center of the flower field stood a towering ancient tree, which was the source of the yokai flower. Within the trunk of this tree, the group discovered the remains of hundreds, even thousands, of fallen soldiers. Clearly, a large-scale battle had taken place here many years ago. Kitaro slowly walked in and found a special corpse. The left hand of this corpse was tightly protecting its chest, and in the chest area, there was an intact letter. The letter had not been opened, indicating that the deceased had not had the chance to send it before dying on the battlefield. However, it was strange that after all these years, the letter had not decayed. Kitaro thought that the deceased must have had a strong obsession in life, which preserved the letter intact. But what was surprising was that the sender of the letter was Jiro, and the recipient's name was Suzuko, the elderly woman who had never married. At this moment, everyone finally understood why the yokai flower appeared around Suzuko's house. It was born from Jiro's obsession after his death, and the yokai flower had floated with the wind all the way to Suzuko's home, symbolizing Jiro's deep longing for Suzuko. In the end, the letter, buried for decades, was finally delivered into Suzuko's hands. Suzuko finally got the answer she had spent her whole life searching for. It turned out that Jiro's parents had never approved of their marriage, but Jiro insisted on marrying Suzuko. To separate them, Jiro's parents forcefully sent him into the army. Thus, Jiro was sent to a distant battlefield, where he perished in that very battle. But the promise he made to Suzuko was never broken. He really did come back. Kimura, in pursuit of wealth and prosperity, went as far as to promise his daughter Hana's hand in marriage to the kitsune of the mountains. With the kitsune's supernatural powers, Kimura quickly rose to become a wealthy and powerful man. However, on Hana's 18th birthday, Kimura decided to go back on his promise to the kitsune. He plastered Hana's room with protective talismans, and even enlisted the help of Kitaro, a powerful exorcist. Kimura lied to Kitaro, claiming that the kitsune coveted Hana's beauty and wanted to take her away. Believing Kimura's lies, Kitaro agreed to help him. Using his powers, Kitaro constructed a protective barrier around Hana. Watching the scene unfold, Hana couldn't help but recall a distant memory. Years ago, she had accidentally fallen into the water and nearly drowned. At the critical moment, a pair of hands pulled her out of danger. Hana tried to open her eyes to see who had saved her, but she could never quite make out the person's face. When she finally woke up, a red string was tied around her wrist. For years, She had been searching for the person who had saved her. But now, having offended the kitsune, she feared she might never get the chance to meet her savior again. As night fell, the appointed hour arrived. The kitsune appeared as promised. Kitaro confronted him, demanding to know why he was harming humans. In response, the kitsune produced a written contract, signed by Kimura himself, and exposed Kimura's treachery to everyone present. The truth left Hana devastated. As Kitaro hesitated, unsure of what to do, a mysterious woman suddenly appeared and abducted Hana. While everyone was left in confusion, the kitsune revealed a shocking secret. He was, in fact, the one who had saved Hana from drowning all those years ago. To ensure her safety, the kitsune had given her a red string infused with his own fur, allowing him to sense her location at all times. Meanwhile, Hana was bound to a surgical table. Within her body lay a ring the mysterious woman desperately wanted. Just as they were about to cut her open, the kitsune appeared and rescued her. However, their adversary transformed into a monstrous creature. To shield Hana from harm, the kitsune used his body to block every single attack. Carrying Hana on his back, he fled at full speed, but the monster relentlessly pursued them. Once more, the kitsune used his own body to shield Hana from every assault. Hana didn't understand why he was risking so much for her. The kitsune told her that he had been waiting for her for over 10 years, just to marry her the moment she became an adult. As the final blade was about to pierce the kitsune's skull, Kitaro arrived just in time. He quickly dispatched the monstrous creature. Looking at the gravely injured kitsune, Hana was overcome with guilt and sorrow. At that moment, the kitsune revealed yet another secret. Years ago, when he was being hunted by humans, wounded and on the brink of death, it was a young Hana who had saved him. From that moment on, the kitsune had fallen in love with her. Upon learning how impoverished her family was, he had readily agreed to Kimura's proposal, all the while secretly protecting Hana from the shadows. Only now did Hana realize that the yokai she had once despised was the very person who had saved her life so long ago. Perhaps fate truly works in mysterious ways. In the end, Hana finally found the one she had been waiting for all along, and the kitsune could finally be together with the woman he had been waiting for over a decade.